defense is tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in force rate. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Boston. The Reds win the pennant.
Larkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2-0.
Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again.
Benson backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Hatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! They did! Reds win! Win! Line to right field. Genius, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Does it have a chance? The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, welcome into a Sunday night edition of Chatterbox Reds. Unfortunately, it's not a winning series version. Reds fall on a rubber match game, not in the way that they typically would have, which means they would have had to lose the opening game of the series, but they lose the series on the Sunday game 7-3. Nick, I think that there's actually some things that are worth discussing that have some weight to them tonight. I don't know if tonight's the night you want to do it, so I'm going to kind of throw out a little bit of what I'd like to call some lure in the water from time to time. We'll see if you bite. We'll see if you bite. You might not bite. If you don't bite, then that's fine. We move on. We'll do it another day. But if you don't think that there's going to be some worms kind of out there just floating around with some bobbers attached to it, you'd be wrong. So we'll see how well you do.
I welcome it. I welcome it. I welcome it.
But yeah, I guess how was your weekend? It's been a while since we were on the air.
I know it's weird when we have like the Thursday off day. It
Right.
really feels like we're off for quite a while. No, I had a nice weekend. son's birthday was yesterday, so I was at Chuck E. Cheese, which sounds like it was probably more enjoyable than the Reds game that I missed on Saturday. Parents were up this weekend, so yeah, no, I had a really nice weekend. How about you?
It was good outside of the few hours that I watched the Reds, I'll be honest. I mean, when we don't do the show, there are times where I can kind of like come in and out of games. It's a little easier to kind of, not be maybe locked into every pitch. But it seems like, quite honestly, we've seen this story before. It's like the same Reds team that just shows up for what seemingly is a week here and a week there. I would say a day here or a game here, but it's a little longer than that, unfortunately. The offense, it's just inconsistent. It's extremely frustrating. We'll probably talk about that, and maybe some of the issues that exist within it, and what you do or what can you do, if anything, or do you just kind of say this is who we are and you sell off? And I'm not going to say it because everybody in the world in Cincinnati is sick and tired of it. I'm not really talking about the R word, which is rebuild, but maybe a rebrand. Is that how we're going to do this? Instead of calling it a rebuild, we'll just call it a rebrand.
I don't know. I'll start. I don't think we're anywhere close to that by any means. I think there's a lot of issues and problems with the team, but even with all those issues and problems, this team is not giving away 7 or 8 games from having an entirely different season and outlook right now. Yeah. So I think there's definitely things that need to change. There's definitely things they need to do. There's things that need to be addressed, but I don't think it's dire or anything like that. I understand why others might feel differently, but I don't know. That's where I'm at.
All right, well, let's get into it. Reds, obviously, they dropped the game today, 7-3. We'll get into the game itself, but I really don't know if the game today warrants a long discussion about, what they should have done here or should have done there. I mean, they lost today, and they lost to a better team. I'm man enough to say that. I don't like to say that. I don't want to do it, but there's one thing that I promised myself that I would do on this show, is I'll always tell you how I truly feel. I'm not going to mask anything. Is it going to make Reed Mouse happy? You probably will clip this. I'll say it. The Cubs are a better baseball team right now. They are. Whether or not they can hold up their end of the bargain of what they want to do with the pitching staff that they currently have, that's a different discussion. But just head-to-head, what we have versus what they have, we're not as good as they are. And I think that's been showcased the last 2 times we played them, Nick. Let's jump into the box score, and then we'll talk about it as a whole.
Yeah, sounds good. I'd like to talk more about like the Reds and the Cubs too when we get to kind of that point. So
sounds good.
Trigger back around there. All right, Reds taking on the Cubs. Rubber game of a 3-game series at Wrigley Field. Nick Martinez against Jameson Taillon. Nick Martinez pitched around traffic in the first and the second innings, but the Cubs put up 4 runs off Martinez in the third inning, capped off by a 2-run home run by Michael Busch, 4-0 Cubs. Martinez would leave the game with 2 outs and a runner on second base in the 5th. Brent Suter came in and allowed that run to score to make it 5-0. Elly De La Cruz, playing with a heavy heart after finding out on Saturday night that his sister in the Dominican Republic passed away, hit an incredible 2-run home run in the 6th inning to make it a 5-2 game, the hardest hit home run in the history of Wrigley Field. The Cubs, though, got those runs right back as they scored 2 runs in the 7th, thanks to a pair of errors from Santiago Espinal and Will Benson, and that would end up being the final score. Reds only get 4 hits on Sunday, fall 7-3 to lose the series to the Cubs. Reds now 29-31 on the season, 8.5 games back in the NL Central.
All right, we got a deep drive of the day, and this was a meaningful one. Meaningful to Elly De La Cruz. For those that know, obviously the situation, had a loved one pass away, and it was kind of nice to see him have some success on a day like today. So Elly De La Cruz would homer on a massive fly ball. Nick has fly ball. I think it was just a piss missile, personally, to right field. Santiago Espinal scores 423 feet right down the line, 117 off the bat. That would cut the lead down from 5-2 for the Cubs. 9% win probability, and as we all know, it would be a 0. But what's not 0 is DSC being a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. All right. I guess I kind of want to put the ball in your court here because I don't really even know where to start with what I'd like to talk about, because it's just such big overarching questions that I don't think it's pertained to the game today. Can I say this though? I'll start it off by saying this. I think that there's this narrative going around sometimes that this team's lazy or they don't care or there's not accountability and there's all these things. Let's just say that we don't. This is my opinion, of course, to be very clear. I don't think we have good enough baseball players. That's different than caring. I have a hard time believing that guys that have worked their entire lives since they're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and I know it sounds crazy, but they have sacrificed a lot in their life to play this game. They have put almost all their eggs in one basket. And all I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying you should pity them for that. They make millions of dollars playing a kid's game. But what I am saying is, like, for the players the Reds have, you don't not try. You know, I know this was games ago, but it's like the whole idea of Benson not catching that ball on the right field line. Like, if you have somewhat of a clue, you know the situation. Benson's obviously unfortunate mishap today. That's not for a lack of trying. It's either one of two things. An unfortunate circumstance that happens from a physical standpoint that's baseball. You miss some plays every now and again. Or you could say it's bad luck. I think it's bad luck down the right field line when there's no room at all, there's a sun in your eyes, and there's wind blowing. And I think today's just misfortune because you don't make the play. If you want to say he stinks, you can say he stinks, but don't say he doesn't try or doesn't care. Ellie being nonchalant and lazy at shortstop, he has a bad internal clock. He waits for the ball sometimes a little bit too long. And you know what he's done? He's gotten in a bad habit of relying on the laser beam that is his arm, and it gets him out of trouble more times than not, especially at lower levels. Like, if he's playing against single A guys, more times than not, he can get away with that. And he's not playing in a packed house at Wrigley Field, and there's just a little extra pressure. It's a bad habit. I don't think it's laziness. So now that that's out of the way, I'd just like to say I think this team needs better baseball players. As far as the series go and the Cubs and the Reds, Nick, you said you wanted to touch on that, so I guess maybe we'll start there and we'll see where the show goes.
Yeah, I mean, just like this overall week is fine. Like, you went 3-3 on the road against the Royals and the Cubs, and it just stinks that we're in this spot where you have to do better than that at this point. And it continues to just be the result of giving away all those games early in the year. And now you're in a spot where you're really almost in an impossible spot where you have to play better than anyone should realistically expect, because no one should realistically expect you to go better than 3-3 at Kansas City and at Chicago. Like, you just shouldn't. So the Cubs in general, I mean, they're projected right now to win 91 games. Like, maybe they'll collapse again for a third straight year. I don't know. But, man, they look really, really good. And I don't know if it makes anyone feel better or worse, but there's nothing the Reds could have done this offseason to win 91 games. I don't think. Do you think there's anything the Reds could have done this offseason that would have gave them any chance of winning 91 baseball games?
Well, you're saying that in the context of what you think that they're capable of actually doing. If they had unlimited resources, of course we think that they could have done that.
Maybe. I mean,
I would like to think they could have. Yeah. I mean, I maybe I'm wrong, but you know, they could have, yes. And I haven't looked up what Juan Soto's numbers are this year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But my point in saying is that if you had unlimited resources, you probably could. But your point stands, and we shouldn't sit here and speculate of what they could have done based off something that's impossible for them to do. So, to your point, I guess here's where I'm at with this franchise in a way. At some point, you stop comparing yourself to mediocre teams, and if you want to be one of the better teams in the league, then you got to figure out a way to be competitive with them. And I think, unfortunately, we've found ourselves as Reds fans trying to not justify, but certainly putting ourselves in a spot where we are okay, and I am okay. Sadly, that's where I'm at. Okay with just getting to try to 84 wins, right? 85 wins would be a great year. And then if that's the bar, Nick, I got to tell you, like, that's saddening more or less, because at some point you'd like to think you can have one of the better teams in the league. And ultimately they're just not. I guess I don't think they're close to that right now. But that also could be a fundamental idea of having to watch this baseball team every single day for the last few months. That can do that to you. I've even thought, Nick, myself, back before I followed this team on a daily basis, I think casual fans that they have good baseball knowledge, sometimes they can see things that somebody that watches this team on a day-to-day basis can't, or they can't come to grasps with, if that makes sense. Like, for instance, Nick, if you weren't fighting the day-to-day battle of the Cincinnati Reds and this move and that move and everything, they signed Wade Miley, right? This off. Like, if you're a casual baseball fan, wouldn't you just kind of like laugh about that? Well, not laugh, but you're just like, oh, okay. Whoa, that one's going to put him over the hump. Wade Miley. It's like you kind of step back from it all, and it becomes pretty sobering, I guess is what I'm saying, is that we love Will Benson, and we love Matt McClain, and yes, Ellie's Ellie, and CES, and Marte, and we try to make these guys maybe bigger than they are, because that's our hope. That's what we put our fuel into, and that's the next wave that's supposed to get us over the proverbial hump. But boy, there are times where you just think to yourself, like, how close are we? I don't know. And I got to tell you, like, the most damning thing about all of this is that in 2023, Nick, this team was 10 games over 500. They were leading this division, and they were doing it with a bunch of kids mostly. And we find ourselves 2 years later, and some of these kids are nowhere to be found and or struggling. And you don't really have a whole lot of help coming right away from the farm system. So I don't know. My biggest fear, Nick, is that if you believe in Nick Krall, I worry that Nick Krall doesn't make it to the wave that actually might get them over the hump if you believe in his system. Because you can only do this for so many more years, Nick, before somebody just comes in and makes a major move to make a major move. Sadly. And that's just kind of where my head's been this whole time with this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's my biggest fear. I'm sure that's probably not a lot of other people's, but the Reds have changed course so many times on which way they want to go. Do they want to be this team that just tries to draft and develop? Do they want to try to rush it? And I think the way the Reds are doing it is the best model. I'll die on that sword right now. I just, if you think the Reds are going to catch up to the Cubs by just going out and signing and trading for players, and that's going to be any way sustainable, it's not. The only way the Reds are going to ever get to that level is by having an absolutely loaded farm system that just continues to bring up good player after good player, like Pete Crow Armstrong. Like, you have to make smart trades like the Cubs made for Pete Crow Armstrong, because the Reds are never going to outspend the Cubs. So the only way they can have any chance is by having more of those type of players. If not, there's no chance whatsoever. So that's where the Reds are at. I mean, the wild card's still attainable right now. I mean, it's not by any stretch of the imagination a good chance, but it is at least that some of the teams have underperformed at this point. Maybe they won't continue, but think right now the wild card's at 85.6 is the third wild card. So, I mean, you don't have to get too crazy hot to get to 86 wins. I mean, you'd have to play really good baseball over the next couple of months, but you don't have to do anything so far crazy out of the ordinary to get there. So, I mean, that's really the only hope. But the NL Central, I mean, it's absolutely dead.
Yeah, unless the Cubs completely fall off the wagon, and they're not going to. I don't think they're going to. I really don't.
And they're going to add at the deadline too. I mean, they're going to fix. They're going. You know that if they don't go all in this year,
right,
with Kyle Tucker on a 1-year deal, I mean that fan base will riot at the deadline. So I have to believe they are going to be a significantly better team in the second half too, or should be a significantly better.
And the Cubs have gotten some. I mean, the performance that they're getting out of PCA is head over heels of what they expected, and they're almost better than what they thought they were going to be in a way. I know their starting pitching is what it is, but I mean, I don't know. Just it's one of those things where I'm willing to admit they're not good enough. Like, I guess, and does that mean that you shouldn't watch the games? And does that mean that you stop listening to the podcast, you don't watch the show? No, I'm not saying that. I mean, baseball in general and the Reds is a part of the summer for many of us, like that's just what you do. You enjoy your nights watching the Reds, win or lose, you're still kind of there because it's part of who you are. And unfortunately, I just don't know if this team's going to ultimately get in the spot where we feel really good about it anytime soon when it comes to this year's baseball team. So jumping into a guy that's a lightning rod, Elly De La Cruz. I think I put out a post yesterday, and it just turns into it really just turns so toxic so fast sometimes. I just maybe you just don't even post about Elly anymore ever again. But what I was trying to say is that there are times where it feels like Elly makes some plays that are unfortunate, I guess would be the term to use. He doesn't make the right play or he makes an error. And it seemingly happens far too often in a big moment or a spotlight where most people are watching, or if they aren't watching the Thursday getaway, the getaway day on a businessman special where Elly's making diving plays and spinning and throwing guys out and truly making a difference. They're watching the Friday night game, City Connect Jersey night against the Cubs, sold out crowd, 8th inning, tie game, and Elly makes an error. And that's how I felt about it. And that's what I was trying to get at, is that I understand the narratives by some of the fans that think Elly's not a good enough shortstop. All I'm going to say about all that is that he's such a young player, and he's shown so much promise at that position, and he's already had some metrics that have shown, not this year as much, in the past that have shown that he's one of the better shortstops in baseball. Whether you believe that or not, I'm not trying to convince you one way or the other on that. I'm not. I'm just saying, of all of the guys on this team, he's really one of the only few guys, Nick, that I actually think is legitimately part of the future no matter what. And I would push everybody to think, if you were only allowed to keep 3 players on this baseball team right now, and it was you let everybody go out into the free agency market, but you're allowed to keep 3. Elly is one of those players. Hunter Green's the other player. And I guess the last guy, you could make a fun argument about that one. But the fact that he's 1 or 2 on the depth chart when it comes to total players on this roster, you got to kind of step back and realize this isn't Elly's problem. He's available every single day, is my thought as well. So I don't know. Maybe we're giving him too much credit. Maybe we're trying to baby him too much, but that's just my overall opinion about Elly De La Cruz.
Yeah, I'll just real quick that play on Saturday. I wonder, I wasn't watching it live, but I saw the replay, and I wonder if Elly is also somewhat in his own head about how he's thrown some balls wildly and trying to make sure that he adjusts and throws on target. I wonder if that also maybe played into it. That was just my thought. I really don't have any interest in getting into the whole Elly and what he's doing and is he productive or whatnot, because anyone who doesn't believe in Elly De La Cruz or appreciate what he's doing is not going to listen to anything I say at this point. Because if you can't appreciate what he's doing right now, there's just no point in me wasting my breath trying to convince you. But I would like to talk about just him today. I mean, in the situation that he's under, and how difficult of a situation that is. I don't think, Trace, we think, and I might say we, I mean me as well. I don't think we realize how difficult it is for some of these players from the Dominican Republic to be over here in the United States playing baseball with their family away from them, thousands of miles away. Who knows when the last time he even saw his sister was. Sister passes away. How good is he even able to communicate with them down there? We don't even know any of those things. I think it's easy for us when we see, like, if you're a college basketball guy, you see like some of your favorite college basketball players go over to Europe to play, and you'll watch their social media videos and be like, oh yeah, it must be pretty hard living in in another country where you can't communicate with people. We don't really maybe do that the same way for, I think, some of these like Dominican players like Ellie De La Cruz or even Noelvi Marte, and how big of an adjustment that is. So I don't know. It was part of me for today's game. I just was, just thinking about like Ellie and how brutal of a situation that is for him today. And, I don't know, my head's just wondering, just trying to put myself in his shoes today and how difficult it must be.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not downplaying the idea of playing in a different country is difficult. I mean, Shogo Akiyama, another guy that obviously didn't pan out for the Reds, but the things are tough. But I mean, ultimately these guys get paid to do a job, and they're going to be viewed by that no matter what. When you try to start to strip back, these guys are all human. I get it, Nick. Many of the players that even live in the States, I mean, they don't see their family a ton, traveling from city to city to city to city, but they're compensated pretty fairly, I guess is where I'm at. So no one's going to feel sorry for them. It was nice to see. Here's the thing I'll take away from the day. I think it says a lot that Ellie wants to be a guy that's available every day. And that's very commendable and appreciated. And it should be appreciated in the city, because we've had a lot of guys that were supposed to be stars in this town, and I am putting Ellie as a star. I know his production probably doesn't, equate to a star in the way that many of this fan base thinks it should. But I just think that far too many times guys have gotten hurt, haven't lived up to the production levels. I mean, think about all the guys the Reds have signed for decent money, Nick, over the past 5, 6, 7 years that have not lived up to their end of the bargain. Ellie's getting paid league minimum. Yeah, he's going to go to arbitration. Still probably not going to make as much as he obviously would on the free market. And then the Reds are going to probably trade him, and they're going to get a haul back for Ellie De La Cruz at the very end of his agreement. And he is going to outplay the contract, if you want to call it that, of what the Reds are giving him. He is.
By a country mile.
And then I guess that's what I judge guys off of. Fair or unfair, that's how I view people. Jeimer Candelario, absolute travesty for this franchise. Right? Who else do we got down the list? I'm trying to think. Moustakas, travesty. Mike
Taylor
Minor.
Rogers so far this year,
Mike Minor. Taylor Rogers. There's plenty of them to go around.
Shogo Akiyama.
Yeah. Didn't play. I mean, and they've missed out on a lot of these guys. And I think that's the real crux of some of the issue here. You can't be a small market franchise and be hanging your hat on league minimum players. So, I don't know. Hopefully, at some point, we hit on one of these guys and they outplay their contract. I just
hit on some of them. It's just been the smaller ones for whatever reason. Like Austin Hayes, I mean, even if he only plays in 100 games over the course of the year, he's still going to be well worth that $5 million.
Yes, but when you pay someone $20 million a year, Nick, and they outperform the $20 million a year, you're getting big time production. Major production. You're getting production that can get you to a postseason type stuff is what I'm getting at. It's cool to sign a guy for $2 million and he plays like a $4 million player.
Nick Martinez did last year. It was 14 million. I mean, he well outperformed that 14 million last year.
Right. But it's almost like we're at the casino and we win $100 on a hand, right? And then we lose 3 hands for $75 and we walk out the casino and we're like, yeah, but did you remember the $100 we won, man? We're killing it. Get crawled, baby. To a certain extent, that's how I feel about the whole thing.
Yeah, fair.
But I don't know. All right, that's Ellie. Yeah, I hope that whatever he wishes to do, I'm certain this fan base will understand. Whether he takes a little bit of a leave for absence and he wants to go see his family, understandable, to be honest. So we'll see ultimately what he wants to do. All right, if you're ever in a time where you may need some help, please always remember there's 988. You can text and or call day or night. It's an anonymous hotline. It's okay to not be okay. You can also visit mantherapy.org as well. All right. Probably the toughest topic that I've had to do on this show. I have never believed in someone maybe more than Matt McLain. Just the way that he went about his business, his actions, and what his actions, I'm just talking about when I watch him play, the baseball IQ, the dirtbag mentality, the grinding out at bats, professional at bats, all of the things that you would ever want in a Major League Baseball player. Matt McLain, to me, looked like he was that guy. Reports come out that they give him an offer before the season to extend Matt McLain. He turns it down because he kind of bets on himself. And by the way, people that want to make fun of the fact that Matt McLain turned it down, come on. I mean, I would just say he bet on himself. If you don't want guys to bet on themselves, then I guess I'd rather have
very good players.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather be in a foxhole with a guy that's willing to bet on himself than to take just some money because he doesn't think he's going to be able to live up to the money that he's being offered. But I digress. The hard part with me now, Nick, is that I can see clearly that there's something not right. And the scary part is this guy did miss a full year of injuries. I'm not making excuses for him. What I'm saying is that I'm scared that he might not either be one of two things, healthy or the same guy. You can say he's going through a slump, he's having a bad stretch of baseball, blah, 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 blah. That happens. It happens to the best of them, but not, to me, this bad. Great players don't look like this for this long. And I think it's reached a mental point. And, you know, it reminds me, and maybe this is why I love golf so much, it reminds me of when you just feel like you can never get out of your own way, and you just don't think you're ever going to play well again. And then something at some point does click, and you can kind of fight your way back. But it feels like he needs a rest. And I know you can give a guy a day off or a day off here, a day off there. I would do this. There's one of two schools of thought, Nick. He can't play every day right now. He can't do it. You have to hold a standard up at some point in the professional franchise to say you got to play well enough at some point to be able to at least don the Major League uniform and play every day. He's not doing that right now. But if you sit him for 4, 5, 6 games in a row, just to see if we can't flush this whole thing out, take some pressure off of him that way, and bring him back in. And if that still doesn't work, then I would put him down in AAA and allow him to maybe try to refocus and come back again. I know that he's one of our core guys. I get that you want to make sure that he continues to develop. He has to play somewhere. But to be clear, I'm more or less sitting him not because I think he deserves to sit on the bench because I'm upset at him. I'm doing it because I think this kid needs a break. He needs a breather. He needs to sit down and relax for a minute. And sometimes when you don't get to do something for an extended period of time, like you get injured or something like that, it can kind of rejuvenate your appreciation and remind yourself of the perspective of, hey, this is just a game. And next time I get an opportunity, I'll treat it as such. I don't know your thoughts on Matt McClain, Nick, but that's just kind of where I'm at this point with him. I love him. I still appreciate him. I still think he can help, but I don't think he's good enough to play right now.
Yeah, I still believe in him, for sure. I mean, I think he's just in a really tough stretch. I've seen enough from him that I still believe he's going to be a big league player if he's able to stay healthy for a long time. Most concerning thing is he hasn't walked in 15 games. When he was really struggling earlier in the year, he was still drawing walks. He was having productive at-bats. 15 games without a walk, and he's basically your second leadoff hitter a lot of these games, batting ninth. So it's kind of important, in that role. I don't think the Reds have a better option. I think Garrett Hampson, I'm assuming he would be your everyday second baseman. I think he would be worse. I think the defense that you will lose with a guy like Garrett Hampson playing second base every day isn't worth. I don't even know if he's going to even out-hit him either. I really don't. So there's not a whole lot of options.
Lux.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could play Lux there every day.
Yeah, that's what you have
to
do.
And you call up CES to DH. But then you're kind of, up against it with the whole Steer can only play first base thing, and then you can't DH Tyler Stevenson, who right now is the Reds' second best hitter, in my opinion. So he has to find a way to get in the lineup when he's not catching. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could do that, but I really don't know if the defensive trade-off is actually going to make this team better. But if it helps Matt McClain be better in the long term, then yeah, I'm all for it. This, again, is a situation where, and I've said this before, this is where you have to understand the player, their makeup, and what a decision like this will do for them. If you think that it benefits Matt McClain to send him down to AAA to get him right, then send him down to AAA and don't worry about the present, because this franchise desperately needs Matt McClain to be good to have any chance next year, the year after, etc. If you think that just continuing to ride confidence with him and run him out there is going to pay off, then I'm all for keeping him. But that's where you have to have the pulse of him. And I don't think anyone that's watching games on TV can have that kind of understanding. So this is one where I kind of defer to them. And if they think sending him down's good, great. I mean, send him down for 10 days. Like, it could be a very short minimum. I fully believe Matt McClain goes down to AAA and he absolutely tears it up. I really do. I don't think it's going to take him long to get it right. So I'm fine with whatever.
Yeah, I just think that I guess my point mostly is that there has to be a precedent set, though, that you can't play at this level over this period of time and it be okay to don the major league uniform and be an everyday player. Like, you just can't, Nick. You can't.
Well, we didn't have that in April. I mean, we had about 5 guys that McClain's been hitting for the last month in April, and they just got run out there every day. So
I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I am saying is that a major league team that's actually worth a damn, that might actually get somewhere, that might actually be worth watching on a nightly basis, that might actually do something that this team hasn't been able to do in a long, long time, they don't do those things. They don't have this many guys that go this long without even being able to be relevant. And Matt McClain's not relevant right now. He's just not. And he needs someone or something to change. You can't continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again and expect it to change just because time passes. That's not how life works. Either you find something out, you become a little more aware of something, you learn, you get better, you practice, you do whatever you do, and then the next time that opportunity arises again, things might be different. But if you just keep running them out there every day, I just have a bad feeling that this thing's just going to keep going and going and going and going. And we're going to ask ourselves, like, well, I guess since no one else is a better option, that's pretty damning too. I must tell you. I mean, a guy that's got an OPS of 500, we don't have anybody that's a better option because he's somewhat of an average or is above average defender at second base. Like, it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. And I guess I don't think it's good for his development personally. Now that's an opinion. I can't sit here and prove it and say, hey, here's your stat. This is exactly what. I just don't think letting a kid continue to get beat over and over and over and over and over again and act like it's all good and well is good. If this was Joey Votto in his 10th year, Nick, and he was hitting 150 and we're like 2 months into the season, would I say, damn, what's wrong with Votto? Well, if he missed all of last year with an injury, I might think, well, maybe he's hurt. But here's the problem. Matt McClain, in my opinion, has not played that long or long enough for me to sit here and say, he's fine. The guy's a veteran. He'll figure it out. No problem. He's not that. And I'm not saying I don't believe in him. I'm openly saying it's not good for his development to continue to sit here and to push him out there over and over and over again. One last thing I'm going to say about the whole situation that we have right now, and it sucks because clearly they're not good enough players, one, and or they're not nut cutters enough to be able to keep performing at the level we had hoped for them to do. But clearly we have too much pressure on these young guys. Clearly we've put too much weight on CES, Marte, Ellie, and McClain. And the one that's lived up to it the most is probably obviously Ellie. But my overall point when people are like, well, look what Pete Crow Armstrong's doing. Like, with all due respect, Pete Crow Armstrong plays along the sides of, let me read you the list. Kyle Tucker, Suzuki, Shaw, Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ. Like, these guys, he's having a great year. But it'd be a lot easier to take one player like Ellie De La Cruz and toss him on an elite level baseball team, and he's probably going to have a much easier time having success when the whole thing seems like we're relying on a bunch of 23 to 25-year-olds that have 1 to 2 years of Major League Baseball experience. And I get you got to start somewhere, but there's no veterans on this team that are worth a damn. There's no I'll say it again. There's no veterans on this team that are worth a damn that are available every single day. And the closest thing we have to that is TJ Friedl. And I got news for you. If you went around and asked 29 other Major League Baseball fan bases, hey, what do you know? Tell me what you know about TJ Friedl. They might not even know what team he plays for if you ask the casual. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Friedl because he's had a hell of a year. But that's my point in saying all this. And I still love Matt McClain. I want that to be vividly clear. If Matt McClain comes back towards the end of the season and just kills it, I believe that can happen. But I'm not going to sit here and just keep running this kid out there and letting him get eaten up every single night when he just doesn't look himself at all. That's all.
Over the last 30 days, Matt McClain has a 269 on base percentage. Santiago Espinal has a 261 on base percentage. Matt McClain has a 559 OPS. Santiago Espinal has a 504 OPS. So if we're going to do this treatment, let's also make sure we do it with Santiago Espinal.
Well, Espinal's not a part of the future, one, and Espinal was a pickup that we got out of the middle of nowhere in the spring training, Nick. If you would have told me that Santiago Espinal was supposed to be one of the foundational pieces of our franchise, I would have told you, kindly, sir, I'm not doing a show. You could go find someone else to do this show. Because I'm not rooting for a franchise that we're comparing the likes of the core group of people that we need to be good. We need them to play well. To the likes of Santiago Espinal, with all due respect, who, by the way, got given away by a franchise that ain't worth a damn either in the Toronto Blue Jays. So they just handed him over. At least, if nothing else, if we're going to get scraps from people, at least give me the scraps of Gavin Lux from the Dodgers, which I'm not saying Gavin Lux is a scrap player, to be clear. I'm just saying that if we're going to sit here and brag about the clothes that we got from somebody, let us brag on the street that we got our clothes handed out by Michael Jordan in his trash bags that he's throwing at the curb, than some guy living off the west side of Hamilton's trash bags that you just don't know. Maybe why is he giving them away? I don't know. You get my point. I'm not going to let you sit here and compare him to Santiago Espinal. That's all.
No. I'm only saying that because you said you can't keep running Matt McLain out there every day because you're a professional baseball team when you're running Santiago Espinal out there. Like, it's the same thing in my opinion. The reason to send Matt McLain down is for Matt McLain to fix him. That's it. It's not because he's embarrassing, because Santiago Espinal batting second is far more embarrassing to me than Matt McLain batting ninth and playing good defense in second base. That's where I'm at. I just want to make sure this is pointed out. And last but not least, I do just want to make sure I mention this because I did just mention McLain's numbers over the. Actually, let's pull up Matt McLain's season-long numbers. But I did just want to make sure I mention this. Matt McLain on the season has a 269 on base percentage and a 564 OPS. Anthony Santander, 273 on base percentage, 577 OPS. Luis Robert, 270 on base percentage, 561 OPS. The guys that we had to get this offseason.
Yeah, I understand your point. And as far as Santiago Espinal being an embarrassing player, I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole tonight because it feels like that's all everybody thinks that we do is just sit here and complain about the lineup, et cetera. Like, that ship has already sailed for me, so I've given up. I've given up.
Yeah, it's wasting our breath. But it is
a joke.
It's utterly ridiculous that I'm watching the Yankees and Dodgers, and I think their number 2 hitters are Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. Maybe they move them around. I'm not. And we have Santiago Espinal batting second. Like, it's so asinine, and it's so ridiculous. I can't even believe that a professional baseball team does this. It's nuts.
It's ego, man.
It is ego. I'm going to do it this way. And
right.
I tweeted out when it happened today. I mean, Elly De La Cruz leads the league in at-bats with 2 outs and no one on base. It's just you're not maximizing Elly De La Cruz. You're not maximizing his speed, which he is hurt in some degree, but he's still stolen quite a bit of bases. There's no question in my mind if Elly De La Cruz is batting leadoff or even second, he has more stolen bases right now. But the problem is, half the time he gets on base, there's 2 outs, no one on. He has 3 pitches to try to steal a base, and then the inning's over. You're not maximizing him at all.
We've all. I mean, listen, Nick. I think me, you, and most the fan base is absolutely tired and sick and tired of Santiago Espinal batting second. The only other argument that could be made as far as pulling Santiago Espinal out of the lineup every single day, which I've already suggested that I'd be okay with doing that if it was obviously against right-handed pitching. I don't know what the lineup, I will openly admit who plays third base. I guess Spencer Steer. I'm openly saying I don't totally know that answer. I guess who do you? I mean, is that the reason?
I keep playing him.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying like nuts. The easy. You could convince someone else to say, okay, Matt McLain gets moved out because you have a replacement. Gavin Lux can play there. He's played there before. He can play there. Like, the only argument for Santiago Espinal right now, in my opinion, would be like, okay, there's not really anyone else that can play third base, and if you're trying, I guess in a little bit of a way, like if you're trying to replace them with someone that's actually been really productive at the plate, you're probably not going to do that.
Well, and the last thing you want to do is the biggest strength of this team has been their pitching, which I also think has been helped by the aid of the defense, especially the infield defense. So you would be that's my fear with taking McLain out of the lineup. You take McLain out of the lineup, you put Garrett Hampson there. Garrett Hampson makes 3 errors next week. Yeah. Then all of a sudden you're pitching, that's your strength. Well, you just gave that away for a hitter that's probably not even as good as Matt McLain. Certainly doesn't have the upside.
Listen, the more and more I talk and the more and more I think through this whole situation, the more and more I become depressed.
Yeah.
I got to tell you. I mean, I try to put on a brave face. I try to sit here and watch this franchise with as much optimism as I can, because it's like, if anything, Nick, the one thing you've done for me is you try to provide me an idea of like, hey, there's a way to fan and there's a way to try to follow a franchise. And you can be one of the folks that sit there and they complain about everything and there's nothing ever going to go right. And then the only way that they're really ever going to be happy with watching their favorite team is if they're a 90-plus win baseball team. And the one thing that I've tried to buy into was that, okay, these things don't just happen overnight. You can be a part of the journey. You can watch these young kids play. You can sit here and try to figure out what, maybe the organizational kind of framework of the way they want to go about trying to win. You can kind of watch that unfold, I should say. And this year has been so depressing because it feels like we're just going backwards. And it feels like we're watching a team be managed in a way that is not even remotely close to the way the team was trying to be built.
Yeah.
And we're stuck with the likes of Connor Joe and Hampson and Santiago Espinal all being in the lineup together in one night. And that is depressing, I got to tell you. So, hopefully they find a way to rattle off some wins. They'd seem to do that every single time I get in a spot like this and they get me back. But there's so many more questions than there are answers right now. And I thought that we had answers. I really did, man. Marte, CES, Matt McLain, Ellie De La Cruz. That was some answers. Those were some real bona fide answers, and it looked that way in 2023. And if you didn't feel that way, then you weren't watching every single day. And, we've backed up. So,
if this team could just get some of these guys back and at least playing well, I mean, that would just be, even if this season goes nowhere, for me, I'm assume probably for you too, Trace, that would be at least a lift going forward. Like if you get CES up and he looks like anywhere close to the 2023 CES, that would be McLain, Marte. I mean, at least if you had that, I do think that would significantly change, because realistically, the Reds are 2 games under 500, and we can go through the games and all the games they gave away, and it's like, games-wise, they're not really that far off. But outside of Ellie De La Cruz, your best offensive production have been guys on short-term deals, like that aren't really a part of the future. So that's why I think that the overall, vibes are as low as they are, at least kind of for me right now. Because I feel like it would almost be easier right now if Lux and Hayes and Trevino's production were flipped for McLain, CES, and Marte, even if you had the exact same record right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's a long season. It's June 1st. There's certainly a way to kind of turn this around. The narrative can still flip. We got a lot of holes to be played still. So maybe we just need to lock down, grind it out for a minute. Maybe it'll look a little bit better on the back end of this whole thing. But right now, it just sucks. I mean, I don't know how else to tell people. It sucks. This sucks. What we're watching right now is not fun. Alexis Diaz, a guy that obviously got dealt away. You and Craig kind of obviously already went over this and touched on some things about it, and I thought you made a good point. I know people in the chat, and then there were some people in the comments that tried to dunk on in about the idea that this franchise kind of holds on to some guys and they wait too long. And there were some people that were suggesting like, "Whoa, you didn't why didn't you bring up Luis Castillo? Why didn't you bring up Jesse Winkler?" Well, I mean, they did get some guys back for them, so I don't know what that guy was saying, but I guess I agree with your point. Like, you got to kind of can I say, like, if there was one thing I think that should be absolutely red hot on fire right now, and I would be all for a complete rehaul of it all, is scouting and development. And just because you hit a lottery ticket in Elly De La Cruz, you don't get a pass for years and years and years of lack of development and top draft picks just not yielding you as good of results as you'd like. Nick Senzel's a guy even that comes to mind. I know people like joke about this. Like, Nick Senzel was obviously an extremely high pick, second overall pick. He gets to the big leagues and they want to change him. They want to change his swing. They want him to have a different approach. And my thing is like, then why the hell did you draft this guy? If you took him with your second pick in the draft, why are you trying to change him? I was even thinking, like, from a collective bargaining agreement, if they're not even going to come up with a way to try to make the salary cap thing happen, et cetera, then damn, I know this sounds crazy, but then I want a salary cap on all non-player personnel. I want a salary cap for the major market teams. Anyone that has a luxury tax or even comes close to a luxury tax, then guess what? They're capped at the amount of money they're allowed to spend on these scouts. And then the smaller market teams can overpay the scouts, and maybe we can get the advantage that way. We can find all the best scouts in the game, and we can, and then the small markets get them. Now that sounds stupid to some. I get it. I'm trying to come up with some backhanded way to try to make this game equitable. So maybe I'm an idiot for even thinking that. But the one thing that has pissed me off of late is really our scouting development, because how come fans can sit here and scream for years, Nick, that Alexis Diaz is probably pretty hot right now? Might want to think about moving him before this whole thing goes awry. Yet we don't do that. And I understand that we were in the mix in 2023, so you don't want to mess with that. But like at some point, Nick, you got to move on guys when it's least liked. People might not like this, but TJ Friedl is a guy that you should consider.
The fact that people don't like it is why you should consider it.
Like, well, yeah, it's like
if it's someone that you're like, oh, I can't trade him. Well, that's the point.
Yes, it is the point. It's like you have to move on guys when you think you have as much value as you possibly can get out of them. And on top of that, you're probably not in a position to do anything relevant. And I hate to say this, but the truth of the matter is that TJ Friedl right now is playing well above his weight, in my opinion. And on top of that, the Reds aren't going to do anything that's, in my opinion, worthwhile to not move him. So I get that off my chest. I'll say that openly. So that way, if it does come back in maybe a year or two and everyone looks back on it, I'll say, well, this isn't hindsight's 2020, folks. I was saying this back in 2025. Now, this isn't supposed to be about TJ Friedl. To your point, though, Alexis Diaz gets traded for basically some a pack of baseball cards and some bubble gum. I'm not trying to be rude. I don't know if I like the trade, Nick. You don't get hardly, in my opinion, anything in return. You know what you do, though? You save some money. And it's like, that's what this was about. That's what this was about. This was about saving money. And that sucks. That sucks.
Unless they use it at the deadline.
Well, that's not going to happen.
I'm not holding my breath.
That's not going to happen. Well, let's just go straight. Let's cut to the chase. They're not saving that money to use it at the deadline. If you want to try to convince me that they're putting that couple $1 million back in the pot of trying to extend someone else, okay, that's fine. But that's where we're at right now. So what do I think about the Alexis Diaz trade? I don't like it. I don't like it. We got nothing in return besides a couple $1 million. And boy, we've wasted a couple $1 million from time to time on plenty of players. So to be fair though, it's about half of it is about half of Austin Hayes' contract. So that's nice.
Which they probably will be cutting in half again.
Yeah, they'll be getting traded here soon too. Yeah.
To wrap up the Diaz thing, yeah, I saw those comments, and I don't know, maybe I didn't articulate my point well enough when we did that instant reaction show. The issue is that the Reds were terrible at this for an entire decade in the 2010s, and I think everyone can recognize that. And then they had a great run of it, right? They traded Luis Castillo and Tyler Mahle at their peak value. They traded Jesse Winker at their peak value. Suarez, no, but I mean, 3 out of 4 is a good number in that regard. And it's like, okay, they're finally doing it. Well, then they started winning, and now we can't do 2 things at once, which I don't know if you remember. One of the first shows we ever did, I said, you have to do 2 things at once. You have to try to win, and you have to continue to stockpile talent behind, or it's going to be these cute little 1-2 year windows, and that's it. So that's my biggest thing. And then, on TJ Friedl, like, I'm not trading TJ Friedl the trade deadline to trade TJ Friedl the trade deadline, but you have to start shopping him now. And if you're out of it, you have to try. And I saw someone, someone else had tweeted out that I had suggested that on a show, and someone said, well, you have to extend TJ Friedl. Extend TJ Friedl? Brother, his first year of free agency, he's going to be older than Jeimer Candelario is right now. Yeah. He's going to be older than Jeimer Candelario. He's going to be 32 years old his first year as a free agent. Candelario is 31 right now.
No, listen, I with all due respect to TJ Friedl, he's been unbelievably good for this baseball team, but I just don't see it in regards to him being here when this team's ready to win. And I guess someone would be like, well, that could be next year. I guess I'm so beaten down that I'm not totally convinced it is next year. I gotta see some things develop. I gotta have some guys that are readily available long enough for me to believe in again. I'm not even saying they're not big leaguers, but it doesn't matter if you're a big leaguer if you can't stay healthy either. I gotta tell you, Nick, like, if CES can't stay on the field and Nick Noelvi, Marte can't stay on the field, then it's a moot point. It really is. As far as who you'd get back in return, well, this game never ends with this. It does it because, yeah, I'm not going to trade TJ Friedl for what they traded Alexis Diaz for, obviously. But I got to see the trades, and I got to be able to say to myself what's realistic and what's not. And I just think that you've got to start moving on guys when they're at somewhat of a value. I mean, Scooter Gennett's another good example, and that's kind of how I feel about TJ Friedl. It reminds me of Scooter Gennett. He does. He's a guy that, a little older in his career, got hot, is playing really good baseball, looks the part. Everybody in Cincinnati loves him because we love players that help our team win. But I just don't see the sustainability of it all, and I get we're tired of the prospects. I completely get it. We're tired of rebuilding. We're tired of waiting next year. We've been doing that for 30 years. I'd heard it all. I get it. I know. But the reason we've been waiting for so damn long is because we don't have good enough players that come up here consistently from the farm system. Because even if let's just say Matt McLain's a perfect example. If you had another guy ready to go, let's say there's another Arroyo that's at the AAA level, and you have another Arroyo at the AA level, you'd be calling up the AAA Arroyo to give him a shot to see if he can help your ball club. In the meantime, Matt McLain can get some reps, and then he can come out, and we can just swap him in and out. Or perhaps one can play third base, and Santiago Espinal isn't playing third base anymore. That's what I'm talking about, scouting and development. If you're going to play in a small market franchise, you better be elite at that. You better not miss on draft picks. You better not miss on relatively high market value players that you go and sign either, Nick. And Nick Krall has done that. He has done that from time to time. And he's hit some home runs too. I'm not trying to say Nick Krall is terrible. But his margin for error is quite literally nothing. And he's not been perfect. So that's why we are where we are. And we sit here and we talk about a baseball team and we're wondering what the problem is. And the problem is we have Santiago Espinal batting second, playing third base every single day. We got a guy named Garrett Hamster playing left field from time to time. And we got a guy named Connor Joe playing right field from time to time. And we're not very good. Some point we'll be better. Anything else you want to add from Diaz and or anything else before we jump into Reds MILB?
Nope, I think we got it all.
Yeah. I can't wait for the rave reviews to come in about how Trace is so negative, and on top of that, he knows more than Tito. I tell you what, the more and more the season goes, ready for this one? I actually do think there might be some fans that can manage better. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I do. Right, I do. I mean, listen, I sat here and I've watched life pass me by. And as I've gotten older and older, I've realized when you're a kid, you think all the adults know everything. Every single adult knows everything. They're smarter than you are. They know more than you do. Your parents know everything. Then you get a little bit older, you get a little bit older, and you start to get your own nosm, your own wisdom. And you start to look around and you think, some of these professionals, my parents, they don't seem to know as much as I thought at one point. This is a weird thing. It's almost like the Blockbuster CEO at one point was talking about how, I don't know, this Netflix thing, these people that doing this digital movie watching, that's not a big deal. But he was the expert. Hell, that guy was the CEO of Blockbuster. But he's smarter than everybody else. Just like Warren Buffett and all these other guys say, don't buy into crypto. Don't do that. I wouldn't even put $1 into it. And all of a sudden, there it goes crypto. It's skyrocketing. Whether you believe it or you don't, you've been proven wrong. What you realize in life is that sometimes the experts, they miss it too. We just had a whole big, I'm not going to get into it. We just had a whole big situation in life that happened, and we missed it. I think we can all say we might have missed it a little bit there. So don't sit here and tell me that just because they have this position that they're automatically 100% right. I'm not buying that. You can hate me for it, Nick. Reds MILB.
All right. So a little Reds MILB. All right, we'll start off with AAA Louisville. They fell 4-0 to Toledo. Bats have now lost 6 straight games, 24-32. CES 1 for 4 today. He's hitting .375, .444 on base percentage, 1,200 OPS in 7 games at AAA. Reese Hines 0 for 2 with a pair of walks. Jacob Hurtaby's 0 for 4. He's now hitting a .113 with a .452 OPS in 28 games at AAA. Chase Petty, an okay start, 4 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Luis May threw a perfect inning in his first appearances, getting optioned to AAA. Love to see this. 10 of his 12 pitches for strikes. He hit 100.2 miles per hour. Zach Maxwell continues to be able to pitch around base runners. Had 2 more on base today, but struck out 2. He's now not allowed to run in 8 consecutive appearances. And Sam Ben Schuster continues his really strong season. 2 perfect innings with 3 strikeouts. All right, down to Double-A, Chattanooga. They actually played a game. They lose 8-2 to Columbus. Lookouts did take 2 of 3 in the entire week. They only played 3 games with 3 canceled games. Just a whole debacle there with some games that were supposed to be made up as doubleheaders. Then they just decided to play 1 game. Not really sure exactly what was going on there. But at the end of the day, Lookouts are 2.5 games back in the Southern League North Division. Probably the Reds MILB best hope for a playoff spot in the first half. Sal Stewart, 2 for 4. He's now hitting .328, .853 OPS. Edwin Arroyo, 0 for 4, had an 8-game hit streak snapped. Hector Rodriguez also 0 for 4. Ethan O'Donnell 0 for 3 with a walk. It's been a tough season for Jay Allen, but he had a nice day on Sunday, on base 3 times, double at a pair of walks and stole a base. Austin Hendrick hit his 4th home run of the year and also walked. And then on the pitching side, a tough start for Jose Acuna. 8 hits and 2 walks over 5 1/3, give up 3 earned runs. Just the second time in his entire career he's allowed 8 hits. Last time was 2023. He's having a nice year, though. 2.03 ERA through 10 starts, 52 strikeouts, 28 walks. Walks the problem with him. All right, down to High A, the Dayton Dragons. They lose 11-3 to West Michigan. Now 17-34 on the year. They get swept in a 6-game series to West Michigan. Trace, they were outscored 62-21 in the 6 games. Tough week. Yeah, that was at home, too. Carlos Jorge, 2 for 4 with a double. He's now hitting .375 with 4 extra base hits over his last 6 games. Leo Balcazar, 2 for 5. Nestor Lorance struggles continue since getting promoted this year. Gave up 2 runs over 3 innings, got a 5.55 ERA through 9 starts. But we do have some positive news. The Daytona Tortugas, they won 12-7 over Jupiter, now 22-29 on the season. Massive day for Alfredo Duno. Homer twice, 3 for 4, also walked. Sammy Stafora, 1 for 3, pair of walks and stole a base. Carlos Sanchez, 1 for 4. Kyle Henley, 2 for 4. Henley finally caught stealing, ended a streak of 28 for 28 on stolen base attempts. And Trace, tomorrow's the day. The Dominican Summer League is back, folks. The DSL Reds and DSL Rojos start their seasons at 11 a.m. on Monday morning. Reds number 22 ranked prospect Adolfo Sanchez is on the DSL Reds roster. Number 28 ranked prospect Liberts Aponte is on the DSL Rojos roster. He was the Reds' top international signing a year ago.
You know, I was thinking, Nick, each year we could just bandwagon one of the farm league teams that's looks like they're gonna make the postseason or something, and just we could do that show.
We had 2 last year.
Yeah, we did, but this year,
well, you never know. You never know. I tell you what, the Dayton Dragons making the playoffs in the second half would be incredible, and it's really feasible because there's only like 4 teams in each division, so you really don't have to beat out like 3 teams. So that would be an awesome story. I'm pulling for it. Let's promote. Let's promote Duno and Stafura and Sanchez all right before the second half starts. Get some pictures up there. Hey, you know what? Hell, let's send some guys down from Chattanooga too. Let's just go all in.
Yeah, it's sad. I got some supers to get to, but Gadslook says the same thing. I was just thinking when we continue to do this MILB every single night, it's like they don't win. They're not winning right now in the minors either. So it's like, man, just feels hopeless at times.
Well, let's not forget the Arizona Complex League looking very good.
Right.
A lot of players looking really good. Chattanooga's looking good.
That reminds me of like the varsity baseball or basketball coach telling me that the 4th graders that are running around the local elementary school are looking good. They're like, hey, we got some. I know our 7th, 8th, 9th, and JV teams are getting their brains beat in, but let me tell you what. I went over there to the 5th grade game the other day, went around and watched some recess at the local elementaries. We got some hoopers on the way, baby. So just you wait. Just you wait. There was a song about that. There was also a song about Opus, but that's here nor there. I don't know.
Sean Melvin in the chat says rosters haven't been updated yet for the DSL, so I might have given you some false information. So we'll have to wait and see who's actually on the rosters tomorrow.
If you didn't say that nugget right there, 98% of the fan base, I think, would have probably not even known. But you wanted to be an honest man. Yeah, honest man. Yeah, an honest guy. You can't take that away from you. Jacob Doyle says Francona's ego is the only thing keeping Espol in the 2 spot. He isn't one of the best hitters on the team. Get over it. And we talked about that during the show. Thank you, Jacob, for the support. Anquilla the Great says the Reds sign players like the Bengals draft, hoping there's a step that they can unlock that doesn't exist. Cordell Volson, Connor Joe. Not perfect, 1-1. But the thing about football is that if you have a great quarterback, it masks a lot of that. Baseball's really hard to mask, man. There's really not one position that just fixes everything. There's just not. And in fact, I would argue that's really the only real reason that football isn't got as much parity in it as everybody argues, is because the QB position holds so much weight. If the QB position didn't hold as much weight, then you would see kind of maybe the levelness or the evenness or the equality in the league. Gadzuk says, too many in the family hires. No successful era of Reds baseball has existed with internal hires and promotions. If ownership cares, you hire external. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll admit openly that that's so above my head. I don't know the day-to-day stuff there. I've not paid attention enough to know the ins and outs of it all. Just seems like whatever we're doing is not working, obviously. But I don't know about the internal hires. If you're talking about Nick Krall, I mean, yeah, he worked his way all the way up. And he's... The thing that's crazy about Nick Krall is he's not been perfect. He's also not been bad. So he's not been given a lot. I don't know if I want to go there on this show, but I do worry that Nick Krall has had to work so hard in his life to get in the position that he's in that he'll literally do anything to make sure that he keeps that job. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit to stand on some moral high ground or go to bat, but Nick Krall's a guy that just probably isn't going to give two middle fingers to the faces of the ownership group when he really needs something. And I do think that at some point you kind of need to have that a little bit. Whether it would work or not, I don't know, but I would respect it is what I'm getting at. But it's a lot easier for me to say that when I haven't worked for 15, 16, 17 years, day in and day out, to bust my tail to get to this final position. And that's why corporate America sucks, is because you work your whole life to get into the leadership role, to get to the top. And then when you get to the top, you don't want to rock the boat, because if you rock the boat, there's a chance you get fired. But a lot of great leaders and a lot of unbelievable success stories, if you look at it, are the entrepreneurial type-minded people that do that. They do go out on a limb. They do demand excellence, and most of them aren't climbing the food chain at a corporate place that are making a difference. So, if that's what you mean, I
think if the Reds are 5 out of it at the trade deadline, I think we'll have a good idea of how much Nick Krall has a say in the way things are. Because I fully believe Nick Krall's smart enough and understands the game enough to know that he has to sell any pieces that are temporary. Austin Hayes, and I think like TJ Friedl, that type of player as well. Right. If they don't, that has ownership's fingerprints all over it, that they're tired of losing, they're not patient. And that would be a massive red flag if the Reds are at that point. And I hope to God they're not. I hope they win 10 in a row. And we don't have to have any of those stupid conversations. I'm sick of having them. But if they are, it's obvious what they need to do. And if they don't do it, I would have lost just about all faith in the direction that we're going.
It's fair. Alex Spinez Harris says Tito likes Espinal number 2 versus right-hand pitching because they're both crap. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't come off that I think Tito's that way. I just think sometimes smart people make bad decisions, and I really hope this isn't going to become something that he digs his heels on, and it feels like that's where we're already at. So that's kind of why I get upset about it. And Quila the Great then finally says, team gets aggressive, starts winning, sits on their hands, and lets success fall apart, just like the Bengals. I understood why the Reds did what they did in 2023. I do. I feel like I'm very fair and critical of this franchise. I feel like hopefully if you watch this show enough, you at least have some respect for the fact that on this show, I don't feel like I try to defend or paint a narrative or cover anyone's tail and say they're always doing a great job no matter what. But the idea that the Reds in 2023 were going to go out and make all these crazy changes to try to just get into the last wild card spot when you felt like you had a core that was going to come up. It's easy to say that now, but like my thing would be, What if, like, you want to hear something scary? What if they got a bunch of rental players in 2023? Let's just say they barely missed the playoffs, or they made the playoffs and they lost the first series. Don't come at me with, they would have won a World Series with who they would have gotten, because that's a little far-fetched. But my point still stands. Let's just say they wiped out a bunch of farm prospects that are in Double-A and Single-A right now. Then we would be left with nothing. All of the guys that we were hoping to be a core foundational piece of this franchise we're like 1 for 4 right now. And you want them to sell off the likes of Cam Collier and Duno and Arroyo and whoever else you want them to throw. So
we don't even have someone to replace Matt McLean right now. And I was told we have so many players. Where are these guys going to play? We don't have enough right now. And we didn't trade anyone. So
that's the real problem, Nick, isn't it? Like the real problem is that we can't stay healthy.
Yeah. The only way it's going to be fixed is if you have more and more dudes. So yeah, let's also not forget Elly De La Cruz played the worst baseball of his career at the end of 2023. I mean, what was he got benched by David Bell.
Right.
He got benched at the end of, I don't know. And every single pitcher at the trade deadline, almost every single one of them were ass in the second half. They were terrible. The Reds didn't make the playoff roster for the Phillies. Giolito got DFA'd.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes this job hard when this team isn't healthy.
Yeah.
It just does. Because I think a lot of the stuff that we have to talk about on a nightly basis is just a waste of time. I hate to say that, but I mean, us arguing over Santiago Espinal is a waste of life. We can do something better with our life. We need to do something better with our life, man. Like, you only get so much time on this earth. I got 3 kids. I got a wife. I got a dog. I got a lot of family members that love me. I got friends that love me. I got to tell you, spending any time at all in my life talking about Santiago Espinal and Garrett Hamster and Connor Joe and the likes of the crazy thing is I'm not even trying to be disrespectful, but the Candelarios of the world, Spencer Steers of the world, Austin Wentz, although I think he's gotten screwed, I still love him. My point stands. What a waste. These guys are not good enough baseball players to do what we want them to do. They're just not. It's like us throwing the screwdriver at the wall because it doesn't plug in the light bulb. It can't do it, Nick. It can't do it. It can't do what we want it to do. Why are we sitting here arguing about that job? It's not good enough. They're not good enough. You want me to say it again to their face? I'll say it to all of you. We don't have good enough baseball players on this team or even what look to be coming up to help us get to a spot that we all want them to be. There, I said it. We're not good enough. I'm done arguing about this lineup every single day, this, that, and the next. Need better baseball players. And until we get them, we're going to sit here and be absolutely upset. But I will watch them because they wear a Cincinnati Reds uniform. And that's about the only reason why.
And because we have 222 absolute sickos watching this on a Sunday night.
They're like
and
us.
We appreciate you, and we'll continue doing this and beating our heads against the wall with you.
Correct. But let's not sit here and make us all feel like we're taking crazy pills when we're sitting here trying to figure out what's wrong. Because we're all smart enough to know what's wrong. Now, let's hope they play better baseball. All right. What a great show this has been.
I think I could get behind CES getting promoted tomorrow, sending Matt McLean down, planning on it just being 10 days. If he plays well and gets right back up, looking ahead at the schedule, got a lot of right-handed pitchers coming up. I think I could get behind that.
Can I tell you something? If Austin Wynns is never going to play again, with all due respect, Nick, we can be done with that experiment.
Well, that's fine, but you still have to create a spot for CES to play. And that would create a spot for him to play and kind of give him an audition as well.
And to be clear, I'm also okay with them just sitting. And I know that sounds crazy, and people are like, "Oh, you're giving up a roster spot. You're giving up a roster spot." Let him sit there for a few dadays.
I don't care like that. We have like 6 players that have played once in the last week.
Exactly.
I'm not worried about that. I just think if you're going to sit him, just go ahead and demote him, in my opinion.
I just don't think. I guess my point is like I think not playing at all might be the thing that okay, I know it sounds stupid. But I'm just telling you. I think not playing at all.
I'm open. I just want the guy fixed. I just want.
I know we all do, and who knows what the right answer is? To be fair, Nick. Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm searching too. I don't have the right answer. I hope to God they have a better idea than we do.
I just don't. I guess you could go to AAA, and maybe he'll start tearing up the pitching down there and feel better about himself. That's possible. And you know what? I got to tell you, like, I mean, not that I'm trying to compare myself to Major League Baseball players, but yeah, I got to admit, there's times in your career where you go through some tough patches and you just feel like you can never get a hit again. And then you run into a team that's just got some really bad pitchers. I mean, they're just terrible. And yeah, you know they're not good, but boy, you hit the ball hard a couple times and you do start to feel a little bit better about yourself. You're starting to think, all right, maybe I'm not as bad as I once thought I was. So yeah, maybe send him to Louisville. Hell, honestly, I know it sounds good. Send him to Dayton for a week if you need to. I don't care. Whatever we got to do to get him ready.
Dayton deserves that.
Yeah, they could use some help.
Our guy Mike Hart brought up a really good point earlier about how that seemed to work for Marte, and maybe some of it's happenstance. Like, I'm not also just going to pretend that was the magic pill that fixed Noelvi Marte, was him getting demoted at the beginning of the year, but it did work for him. So I didn't think it would as well as it did. And maybe some of it's fool's gold as well. That's also a possibility. But that was a good point that, maybe it could have that same type of impact. Just got to get him good.
I got one idea for Matt McClain, and it's not appropriate for this show. But he needs to figure it out.
Well, if he's still on this roster on tomorrow, I think we need to push for this weekend him to get the Trey Turner treatment. I think we need to try to use our silly platform to try to get the folks at Great America Ballpark to give the man a standing ovation this week. I'll be there Friday night. I'll lead the charge.
That's fair. I mean, there's no reason to turn against him. He's too young. He's too big of a part of the franchise. It's not. We're not at that stage, even close to that stage yet. It's just disappointing. That's all. It's disappointing because I didn't even think that this was possible for him to play this bad. So we'll see. They do play more baseball, Nick. A little who, what, when, where, and why. Take it away, Nick.
All right, Reds taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers come in having won 7 straight games. They just swept the Red Sox at home and the Phillies in Philadelphia. The Brewers outscored the Phillies 28-11 in the 3-game series. More bad news. Reds have lost 11 consecutive series to the Brewers. Last series win August 2022, and the Reds are 51-83 against the Brewers since 2017. Christian Yelich has been red hot for the Brewers, but he was hit on the hand on Sunday. X-rays negative, but has some swelling currently day to day. Pitching matchups for the series: Monday 7:10, Brady Singer against Aaron Savali. Tuesday 7:10, really good pitching matchup: Hunter Green against Freddie Peralta. Wednesday 12:40, Andrew Abbott against TBD, possibly Quinn Priester on Wednesday. But Trace, kind of an interesting stretch here coming up for the Reds. Where's my thing here? The Reds obviously play the Brewers and then the Diamondbacks, and those are two teams that are right directly in front of the Reds, right directly behind the Reds in terms of the wild card race, which I think at least I've conceded, is really the Reds' only path. Reds will also play the Cardinals in the month of June, who hold a playoff spot. They'll also play the Padres, who hold a playoff spot. So they do have a lot of games and a lot of opportunities to make up some ground or to completely fall way behind these teams. So this will be an interesting month with a lot of games that are consequential in terms of this team having any chance or not.
And like you mentioned, I mean, you'd feel a lot better about yourself if they made a move one way or the other from a winning perspective or a losing perspective. And I know that losing sucks. There's nothing fun about it. And it'd sure be nice if this team could just find a way to start winning some more baseball games, because their pitching clearly is capable and good enough to help them do it. It's just that you can't score 2 runs or less in a third of your baseball games and feel like you have a chance to be competitive. Just can't happen. So, yeah, I don't know. I wish I knew the answer. And I think even today, Tito was asked about the inconsistency of the lineup, and he even said, I don't know. If I had the answer to that, I wouldn't be so pissed off. I get it. Tito's frustrated. I mean, I don't know. I think Tito signed up for something that he had no clue about, to be honest with you. And I just don't want them to. I don't want this to be too dark of a show in a way, but it's just like I think this whole situation that we are in right now is not great. So hopefully we can fight our way out of it. We'll see. But if you haven't already liked the stream, there's a lot of people in here, man. For a baseball team that has not provided us a whole lot of happiness, I guess is the term to use. But we are a small business, man, and there's a lot of our opportunities that come to us come by the way of people wanting to know how many people watch, how many people listen. They want to know, what your metrics are and the demographics of this or that. And for us and many of us that when we do this show, and if you listen to us on a daily basis or you watch the podcast or listen to the podcast or you watch the show, it's just like another thing in your life, and it's kind of like a blessing. But this is our livelihood, and I just want to tell you thank you for kind of sticking with us. And it's a tough time, They always say that nobody likes the people that bring them bad news, and it feels like me and Nick have to sit here and do a show far too often, and we really just bring bad news, right? And I hope that people understand that when we go through these topics and we discuss these things, they come from a place that is genuine, and they come from a place that is heartfelt, and we don't just sit here and make up takes to make them, because sensationalism sucks, and the way in which really most media in general is kind of painted in a way to try to garner clicks or get its excitement from things that they probably don't even believe. I don't know. I mean, we tell you how we feel. Obviously you're never going to always love what we say. We're going to complain about certain things this franchise does that we don't believe in. If you don't like that, well, that's your opinion and we have ours, and our goal is to try to make the show entertaining and fun. If we sat here every day and we said, those guys are professionals. Those guys make a lot of money. They're sitting in their ivory towers and they got their mahogany desks and they know way more than us, Nick. So I don't know. Let's just sit around and wait till tomorrow and see if they start to do better. Then I guess we could do that show every single day, and that would be real entertaining. Or we could come up with our own brains and use our own brain power and try to come up with ways in which we think might help this team win. So hopefully you understand, and I just want to say thank you for everybody that supports us. It means a lot, and they play tomorrow, so hell, they'll win. They'll win again. We'll take a fireball shot. We'll have Mouse Cop back in the chat at some point saying the Reds are never going to lose again. And we'll be talking about how Garrett Hampson hit a grand slam and he's the next Babe Ruth. But until then, I'm just going to say I love all of you. But boy, oh boy, does this team stink right now. And until then, which is tomorrow, I hope you have a blessed life. We'll see you back here better than ever tomorrow. Take care, everybody.